is one of the most used products in the history of the world. It is an iconic social media brand. But increasingly, it just doesn't encompass everything that we do. Instagram, WhatsApp, Messenger, Quest, now Horizon, Nazare, and more. Building our social media apps will always be an important focus for us. We're now looking at and reporting on our business as two different segments. One for our family of apps, and one for our work on future platforms. And as part of this, it is time for us to adopt a new company brand to encompass everything that we do. To reflect who we are and what we hope to build, I am proud to announce that starting today, our company is now Meta. Our mission remains the same. It's still about bringing people together. Our apps and their brands, they're not changing either. We're a company that focuses on connecting people. While most other tech companies focus on how people interact with technology, we focus on building technology so people can interact with each other. Gaming in the metaverse is going to span from immersive experiences in fantasy worlds to bringing simple games into our everyday lives through holograms. Maybe you'll play old games in new ways.
So, Barcelona, huh?
Well, it's not New York, but I like it.
New York misses you.
What's that?
I said, let me put my game face on so I can beat you.
Okay. Check.
I gotta try another game face next time.
Maybe you'll go head-to-head with players from around the world.
It's like a shop.
Some call it skill.
Keep talking.
Here we are in 2021, and our devices are still designed around apps, not people. The experiences we're allowed to build and use are more tightly controlled than ever. And high taxes on creative new ideas are stifling. This is not the way that we are meant to use technology. The metaverse gives us an opportunity to change that if we build it well. But it's going to take all of us, creators, developers, companies of all sizes. Together, we can finally put people at the center of our technology and deliver an experience where we are present with each other.
Finally, I've got Nithya on the show with me. I am so excited to see you. We're going to put people together as I walk through this empty stage and pretend that I'm not a robot. I called Cameron and Tyler and asked if they'd like to co-star in my video, and they said, screw you, you already stole our platform from us. And now you're serving up the Burger King Meta Burger. Welcome, Nithya, to On Bourbon Street. I'm Mark Blackenberg, and I'm happy to welcome you here.
Oh my God. I think Zuckerberg is creating the metaverse just so he is not awkward with his hands. Also, I can't wait for the SNL skit that will probably come out roasting this ad this weekend. So this will be a good time.
Like, you know they're firing it up. Like it's gotta be happening. So
yeah.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. I think you and I just moved naturally more in 8 seconds than he did in that entire video.
Oh my God. I love the like, I'm going to talk like this. It's like he showed you this side of his hands too. It's a masterclass on what not to do in public speaking.
The worst part about it is everybody in marketing knows the metaverse is coming. It's going to be big. And now we're all going to be like, but I don't want to call it the metaverse because he stole the name.
Yeah, it's a tough one, right? Because on one side, I feel like Facebook does have the dollar, like the capital and the technology to actually build out the metaverse and what the potential could be. But then on the other side, Facebook has kind of been the big bad evil in the last few years. So I'm curious to see how he's going to potentially use it for bad, if that makes sense. In the same way Facebook is it was a great platform. It was pioneering in the social media age, but then has morphed into this kind of evil thing. And I feel like the metaverse is going to go the same way in an unfortunate way.
Well, let's look at it in simple terms. Facebook has been bad since he stole it. So let's just move on. And you know what? You know what's coming up this weekend? Halloween. So Halloween's back in Toronto. Let's roll for a big Halloween weekly pulse.
A new poll out today found 56% of those asked say they don't plan on opening up their door to trick-or-treaters over COVID fears. And of that 56%, about half, 28%, say they would typically welcome trick-or-treaters in a normal year. Most Canadian parents, though, say they plan on taking their little ones trick-or-treating. 90% of parents asked say they will be taking their kids out, at least the ones that did last year. You know, here in Ontario, Dr. Moore recommended that kids get creative using a face covering as part of their costumes. You know, I hope, Erica, that people do open their door and do hand out candy, because I think, you know, a bigger risk to adults on Halloween is going to the drunken parties on Saturday. That's probably where you're more at risk from getting COVID, not at the door, I think.
I think you can bet if they're not opening their door, they're not planning on going to a party. I hope not anyways, but I mean, a lot of the parents that I know are actually really excited to be able to welcome kids back and start handing out candy again. So hopefully that poll is wrong.
That's ridiculous. Wear a mask. The poor kids have been wearing masks all year long. Here's a chance to not wear a mask. Albeit it's Halloween, so you're supposed to wear a mask.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how, I guess, social norms change this year. And, you know, adults are vaccinated, but kids aren't, right? They're still at risk, especially if they're grabbing or opening doors and whatnot, but they're outside. So, you know, hopefully it's just a joyous time this weekend. And I'm sure the party scene will be hopping, as the reporter said in the same way. That's the bigger risk, is nightclubs and bars, than it is trick-or-treating.
Are you going to a Halloween party this year?
I am going to an 8-year-old's Halloween escape room. Nice. That is all. So that is my party for the weekend. Nice.
And are you dressing up in a costume, or are you just playing security?
No, we will be Bob Ross and the portrait. So I will be the painting. And my friend will be Bob Ross. Yeah.
Okay, let's do a quick trip around the world and take a look at some of the Halloween promotions going on. We're going to do this quickly, fun. Let's jump to Spain first. Are you getting up at 3 a.m. for a free meal from Burger King?
No, but I think it's smart for all these people that are going partying this weekend. They're going to be up anyway, so they can get that free meal. I think, well, it's interesting, right? Burger King, they have been really pushing their app downloads, especially in a year where they, I think, have lost the number 2 spot out to Wendy's, and Restaurant Brands Inc. is just not doing well with their chains across the board. So it's good to see them, you know, do some Halloween promotional campaigns to try and boost that number. They've been focusing a lot on the big C creative side, but not so much on the conversion side, where when you saw McDonald's doing partnerships with like Megan, or with BTS and Saweetie, Popeyes is also trying to do that with like a Megan Thee Stallion. So it's an interesting burger race. I'm gonna call it rat race, but burger race right now.
Well, let's flip over then to, you know, tacos and wraps and Chipotle. You know, for 20 plus years, they've turned Halloween into burrito. Had some struggles obviously in 2020, but 2021, they brought it back with a unique partnership.
What's up? I'm at the Roblox Chipotle. To celebrate burrito this year, Chipotle built a whole freaking Chipotle on Roblox. And the first 30,000 people to visit the cashier get a free burrito. Not bad. They even made costumes for everybody, like all of these things. And chip bag, not to be that guy, but it's actually Walkenstein's monster. Spicy devil, more like swaggy devil. What's up, skeleton guy? All right. Coolest part's to have this burrito maze where you can get a bunch of free and exclusive daily items in the middle. I'll be honest, that took me way too long.
What do you think of that? I mean, first of all, I love the partnership with Roblox.
Yeah, speaking of the metaverse, it's a real thing already. Even though Mark Zuckerberg wants to own it, it already exists, right? And this is a prime example of that.
Yeah.
I just like the TikToker too, with the spicy devil, swaggy devil. That had some swag. I liked it.
Right. And I just thought the whole, you know, integration through and through. And, you know, look, they probably could have tried to do something in person again. Probably when they're planning this, there was enough uncertainty around the market. What I'm curious about is, do you think this, or thinking that the Burger King, kind of the whole 3 a.m. kind of tie into paranormal, will this sort of become something larger than just what the brands do, or do you think consumers will pick up on it and start playing around with it? Now I forgot the name properly. I think it was Guacamole Stein or Guakenstein.
Yeah, I think, COVID forced us to live in a digital world. And I think it also helped accelerate the metaverse to some extent because everybody was at home. But I think in the next couple of years, it's going to be really around this connection between, and really when we talk about like hybrid, what's the IRL or the in real life version and what's the extension into the metaverse, or vice versa. It could be born in a digital sense and then extend into real life. But I feel like that tug of war is going to be what defines the next couple of years for us.
I've been on a bunch of award committees, and I know you've been doing some judging, and there's been some pretty neat things. I think Heinz is just, whether it be their puzzle, and they just keep cooking and doing great things. So, it's kind of a no-brainer. I think this might be I don't know your thoughts, the easiest creative brief in the world to write. Heinz, blood, red, Halloween.
Yep, I agree. And they famously, a few years ago, I think they might have won a lot of awards, is they did the angled bottle. So it was like they put the label, so it's the perfect angle that you could get the ketchup out of the glass bottle. So I think this is part of that tradition for them. So love that they also came up with their blood ketchup limited edition bottle for Halloween this year. So it's nice to see these extensions and activations coming back as well. It kind of feels like maybe the pandemic is petering out, but hopefully we're getting back to some normal.
Let's have a look at their tomato blood teaser. Now, you can buy a costume kit from Heinz Halloween.
Is it just a bed sheet and a bottle of tomatoes or ketchup?
It's got a 20-ouncer of the tomato blood. It's got a makeup palette. It's got a sponge. It's got a tattoo sheet, vampire teeth, everything you want, a mask. And you know what? They're sold out. So these things are probably popping up on whatever the Halloween version of eBay is.
Yep. Hey, I love a good activation. I love a good kit. This is great.
And when you think about that whole connection back to your point on, like, they're just owning red, and it's kind of interesting, right? Because you think other brands come in, but they just keep owning red in all its manifestations and you name it. So, and then we've got Uber, and they're doing some funny things from a ride standpoint. So, I don't know if this is coming to Toronto. Do you know?
I don't know if it's coming to Toronto, but I like that they're borrowing a little bit from Airbnb when they were doing the famous or interesting places that you could rent out a room. It's great to see famous rides coming back, and I'd love to see like a Batmobile. I think that would be really great to get picked up in a Batmobile.
Okay, you just stole my question, which was if you could pick an Uber ride, would it be the Scooby-Doo or would it be Ghostbusters, but Batmobile? Are you like, is it because you like the mobiles? Is the Batman movie series one of your favorites? Tell me.
I think you're making this really deep. I think the Batmobile is just really badass. So
all right, there you go. So not to be so deep. All right. And do you have a favorite bat person? I was gonna say Batman, Batwoman.
Oh, that's a controversial. I think that's a controversial question. I actually really like the 1990s Batman movies just because of the action cheese that was there. But I think the modern ones, I like Christian Bale over I think Ben Affleck. What about you?
You know what? I'm the guy who watches them and then comes out and names the wrong actor who played in Batman, and then everybody at the dinner party laughs at me. So we're just going to move on.
Okay,
early in my career, I was fortunate enough to work on the Mars. Well, originally the Hershey confectionery business, and then later the Mars confectionery business. And that's where I learned this whole concept of seasonal, right? Obviously you've got Easter, you've got Christmas. Obviously Halloween is a massive time of year.
Yeah.
And I love what Kit Kat's doing with their costume contests. So,
yeah.
If you could pick 3 people to be in that costume with you, who would they be?
Oh my God, this is also a really hard question. It would have to be like the friends that are really great at the party because you are literally going to be stuck with them all night long. There is no way that you can break away from them. So that would have to be a very careful, probably Excel sheeting exercise to make sure you got the right chemistry involved. But I do love this idea of togetherness, especially since Halloween was canceled last year. Do you have an answer to this, Mark? Who would those 3 people be?
Okay, the first thing would be less about who they are, and I'd have to do some deep physiological research to understand their rhythm. And what I mean by the rhythm is not their dance rhythm, not their joke rhythm, but their bathroom rhythm. Because, at the end of the day, if you're in a house party and you're going to run up to the bathroom and you're in a 4-person Kit Kat costume, you better all need to go at the same time.
It's true. Well, I'm also hoping there's more than one exit point from that costume, so maybe you can take a break. But
I didn't even think about the plumbing side of this whole thing. So, okay, so that's a good one, and I liked how you twisted "Take a Break" there with Kit Kat. So now let's get excited for sponsorship X on Bourbon Street.
Here we have our dynamic dressing system for opening ceremonies. Both men's and women's is all about versatility and adaptability, allowing athletes to personalise based on their thermal identity, comfort and style. The podium looks are all about enabling the athlete to feel warm through technical engineered knitting. The jacket features details like a collar stand that hold the medal in place and a hidden pocket so athletes can carry their amazing hardware home safe and secure. John and Cassie are wearing our ivory metamorphosis print for closing ceremonies. Cassie is wearing the quilted insulated scarf with a hidden zipper pocket. The look also features a quilted trapper hat that has the ability to transform with the ear flaps.
So pretty exciting new era in Canadian Paralympic and Canadian Olympic history. I'm not going to put you in the spot and ask your opinion, but this is such a judgment thing. People will comment on some of the things that HBC did well, and some things they didn't do well. I will say this. I just think it's super cool that Canada's athletes get to walk out with a pretty kick-ass global brand. And while there's been, like everything, mixed reviews on this, I think that I think HBC in many ways did a great job. The mittens will forever, in my mind, be one of those iconic things. But I just feel like from a style standpoint, this is pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I think on one hand, it's quite forward-looking. I think there's a lot of similarities and likenesses to how athleisure wear and streetwear have evolved. So there's a lot of elements to this that I see in similarities with like Beyonce's Ivy Park collaborations with Adidas, for example. So it definitely is very forward-looking. But on the other hand, I also love that Twitter is roasting them in the most hilarious ways, by calling them the evil Michelin Man, especially with the red outfits, or making Squid Game comparisons. But my all-time favorite tweet was, I think the jacket that has like the backpack in the back. They were just like, can you just imagine getting on the subway or the bus with your backpack parka in the way as well in the winter as this goes to market as well. But I agree. It's very forward-looking. It's very exciting. It's, I think, putting Canada on the map in a big way.
Hey, a PR person once told me, as long as they're talking about me, right? So I don't know whether you personally believe in that, but hey, it's happening. Jumping from Canada to the US, I want to just quickly talk about or have a quick look at this amazing initiative. So the new National Women's Soccer League team in Kansas City is going to have the first ever bespoke stadium, NWSL stadium. Let's have a quick look at it from KC NWSL.
Everyone here agrees women's sports is on a massive upswing. And to continue that trend, which is certainly our friend, world-class facilities are paramount. Well, we're here today behind us with exactly that. The renderings are here. And all I have to say is, let's go, KC.
I've watched this like 30 times. It doesn't get old.
I know I like to talk sports a lot, but what's also great about that new stadium is it's going to the Portlands in Kansas City, which is going to bring energy to an area of town that needs a socioeconomic push, some energy. And I think at the end of the day, if they can then create all sorts of programming, have high school women's soccer games there, etc., it's a real landmark.
Yeah, I agree. And I also like that in the US, in Canada to some extent as well, there's been a big lean into women's soccer, especially because in North America, we've seen such success on the global stage. And in the US too, there's a big lean into women's basketball as well. And I think that's also part of the rise of the athlete activist that's been popping up as well. I think of the Megan Rapinoe's, the Sue Birds, that are really out there as celebrities and personalities. It helps progress the sport as a whole, and hopefully affect a generation, right, of future women athletes.
So I consider myself to be relatively knowledgeable about Olympic sports. I actually didn't know there was an award for the top male and female athletes from the Olympics, as decided by the Association of National Olympic Committees. So spoiler alert, let's have a look at the video to see who won from Tokyo 2020 the Best Female Athlete Award.
Maggie, you were in 7th place halfway, and then remarkably finished first at the end. It was an epic comeback. How did it work?
I think that's just like my trademark now. I mean, I've always had that back end speed, so I think just learning to get out faster can help me a lot in that.
What a triumphant story. This young woman was, abandoned and then adopted. She's overcome asthma. You talk about the rise of the athlete. This young woman's much more than just an athlete.
Yeah, it's incredible to see. It's incredible to see a Canadian also recognized, somebody that's, very humble, very strong. And I think we've also seen this rise in athletes where it's not just around these big personalities. If you think of the Naomi Osaka's of the world, who's actually very mild-mannered too, you see this kind of diversity in personality as well coming to the stage to truly represent different people, which is fantastic to see.
Well, speaking of Olympics, Beijing's right around the corner, and lots of talk right now about athletes for Beijing having to be vaccinated. And as well, they're only allowing guests in from China. But I'm going to throw an off-script question at you. What do you think is going to happen when athletes get into Beijing and start speaking up about human rights and other things?
Oh, that is going to be an interesting one. I think China always plays this fine balance when they're on the international stage, right? They want to be perceived as very welcoming. They want to be perceived as, the world can come to us. And I think there probably is going to be a double standard that's hit here of, if you have a Canadian athlete speaking directly to the CBC, I don't think they're going to be able to limit those types of broadcasts. But I think there will be severe penalties on Chinese nationals on what they can say. So I think there's going to be an interesting conversation that's happening. I think, in a time of social media, the proliferation of the internet, of broadcast, I don't know how much censorship the Chinese government can really do when it comes to international athletes, especially speaking to their broadcasters. But it'll be interesting to see if governments also clamp down on their athletes in light of, international relations, and saying, hey, you can't speak about this so we don't offend, China.
There is an IOC rule that you're not supposed to use your Olympic platform for politics. I think that's just a load of crap. They need to get into the real world. Yeah. So we'll see what comes out of it. Okay, so we have one topic for last call. I want to play for you an ad, and that recently ran from John Lewis, then got pulled. And I want the full Nithya Give me both barrels on this one. So let's run the ad, and then we're going to take it home with last call.
Just like the wide-winged dove sings a song, sounds like she's singing. And the days go by like a strand in the wind, in the web that is blown. But the moment that I turn slave, I kill all alone on the edge of 17. Just like the wide-winged dove, just like the song sounds like she's singing. Just like the wide-winged dove sings a song, sounds like she's singing. Baby, just like the wide-winged dove sings a song, sounds like she's singing.
All right, take us through the story. Let me hear your thoughts.
Yeah, so as some of you may have seen, this ad was criticized and I think eventually taken down. And there are another number of people that were claiming that it was misleading. And unfortunately, I think they were using this title of this kid running through a house causing havoc as something that you can't use your home insurance for. Cool,
Right.
that might be true. They're missing the point here. And I think that was just a cover up for truly what this was standing for. So on the one end, and you and I have talked a lot about representation. I think the representation of this ad, of what it represents for young queer LGBTQ plus community members, is fantastic. That flourish at the end with the glitter on the table brought me so much joy. And I think this will do a lot for a generation, right? Of kids that see this and know that it's okay, that there's nothing wrong with them, that they can, be who they authentically are. I think also the conversation that's coming up, and an acronym that might be coming up and people are seeing more and more, is the term TERF,
Right.
which is TERF, which is Trans Exclusionary Radical Feminists. So these are women that consider themselves feminists, but on the radical side of things. So they don't necessarily consider trans women as part of that movement. They don't consider them women. They don't consider the queer community within that as well. And so it's kind of it's a extreme version of feminism. And I think a lot of it is that all of the attacks on this and the backlash coming towards this ad is coming a lot from that camp, where they're talking about boys being allowed to act out when the daughter is just sitting there complacently. And I think there's a lot of subtext that they're pulling out in order to have this thing. So to your point earlier, I think if people are talking about it, it's good PR. So maybe this was part of the DNA of this ad, is they wanted to be controversial. They wanted to be out there. They wanted to be talked about because everybody's talking about it. John Lewis being associated as a larger retailer as well. I think it's polarizing, but perhaps polarizing in the right way. I just feel like from a representation perspective, this ad's actually going to do a lot of good for a lot of young
Agreed.
kids in the world.
Love it. Thank you so much for joining me this week. I was going to try to pull my meta Mark Zuckerberg out again, but I couldn't. We're going to go to Detroit, not because the Detroit Lions are having a good season, but one of the all-time Detroit Lions greats. Emotional video about him, Chris Spielman. Nikia, enjoy the Halloween party. Great seeing you as always.
You too. # sports. Let's do it.
Sports.
You get half a step to your right.
Good. Yeah. On Sunday, October 31st, we take on the Philadelphia Eagles. We're celebrating the Lions Legends community as part of our annual homecoming, celebrating at Ford. All right, here we go. On Sunday, October 31st, when we take on the Philadelphia Eagles, we're celebrating the Lions Legends community as part of our annual homecoming celebration at Ford Field. At halftime, we will honor one of the greatest Lions ever. 4-time Pro Bowl selection, he helped the team to 4 playoff appearances, 2 NFL Central titles, and a berth in the 1992 NFC Championship game. What are you guys doing here, man?
Think
Chris.
Keep reading. He led the defense for 8 seasons and is the Lions' all-time leader in career tackles, 1,138. Now he'll be in the newest inductee, Team's Ring of Honor, the pride of the Lions. Congratulations, Chris.
You guys got me. I thought I was aware of all this. Thanks. I can't believe it.
So well deserved. So well deserved.
Congratulations. Appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, so well deserved.
That was so awesome.
You so proud of you.
I can't wait to tell you. I was thinking about Steph there for a second.
Oh. She's proud.
Thanks.